The U.S. is accusing North Korea of cyber terror after attacks on Sony Pictures. Now audiences won't get to see this.
Mr. Rappaport, I'm Agent Lacey with Central Intelligence. You two are going to be in a room alone with Kim, and the CIA would love it if you could take him out. Take him out.
For coffee? Dinner? For kimchi?
No, take him out.
You want us to kill the leader of North Korea?
Yes.
Top movie chains refused to show the film The Interview after hackers called Guardians of Peace threatened violence against cinemas who showed the film. They've also been responsible for leaking confidential and embarrassing information on Sony. Private data revealed that the movie was shown to the U.S. State Department and officials there who gave it their blessing. Here's Lindsay France in Hollywood.
The holiday season has not been merry or bright here at Sony Pictures. First, it was hacked on November 24th, and now in an unprecedented move, it's canceled its Christmas Day release of the film The Interview. This comes after the three largest cinema chains in the U.S., Regal, AMC, and Cinemark, decided to pull out of screening the film, claiming threats of terrorism were received from the hackers, that dire consequences to viewers could follow if the film was debuted. For its part, Regal cited wavering support of the film and the ambiguous nature of the threats. So it decided to delay the opening of the film in its theaters. Now, the movie depicts an attempt to kill North Korea's dictator, Kim Jong-un. The two actors in the film, Seth Rogen and James Franco, have never stated that they regret making this film. In June, North Korea called on the U.S. government to block the film's release or face a decisive and merciless countermeasure. Pretty much what the hackers have also claimed. But not many expected such decisive action to be taken by Sony in the interest of public or customer safety. And it's not the first time such international reaction has been received from a film. Back in 2012, a movie about Mohammed depicted the prophet in a less than favorable light and sparked deadly protests in Libya, Egypt, and elsewhere. But in this instance, federal officials are now taking seriously the possibility that in retaliation for The Interview, North Korea could be behind the massive cyber attack and threats at Sony. In Los Angeles, Lindsay France, RT.
Joining us now is American film director and producer J Neil Schulman. Thanks for being with us. As someone in the industry, what's your reaction? It looks like this can turn into a real political scandal.
Well, my first reaction is that it was terrible that Sony made the decision to pull this movie from distribution. In a situation like this where there is a direct terrorist threat, I would say it is not only incumbent on a major entertainment corporation such as Sony, but every other distributor of an exhibitor of motion pictures to join shoulder to shoulder with Sony to support this release. Every other motion picture studio should have agreed to go in and share the liabilities with Sony Pictures for the release of this movie. Otherwise, free expression is compromised in a devastating way.
How real do you think these threats are? Of course, any kind of terror threat is very serious, but obviously the State Department, the government was aware about this film. North Korea said that it would be considered an act of war. How serious did this really get?
Well, I mean, if making a comedy is an act of war, then what isn't an act of war? I mean, during World War II, there was an anti-Nazi movie, very famous movie called Casablanca, starring Humphrey Bogart. Should Warner Brothers have pulled that movie in release because it was offensive to the Nazis? During the Cold War, should the Soviet Union have objected to the James Bond movie From Russia with Love because there were Russian villains in it? If you're going to allow a government to decide what is or is not acceptable entertainment, now you have accepted the principles of totalitarianism over free expression as the standard for what should be seen and not seen by the public.
And what about your colleagues in Hollywood? I mean, what's been the general reaction to this?
There's been some, but as far as I'm concerned, not enough support for this movie. Now, I also need to point out that this is happening because this is a major studio release. Sony Pictures stands to lose about 90 million American dollars by declining to release this movie. So there's a financial hit, first of all, for the corporation. But in addition to that, it's bad for the entire industry. There's already been another movie, Pyongyang, starring the American star Steve Carell, which has halted production because out of fear that this is going to offend the North Korean government. Again, this is a chilling result, and the entire industry should have come together, both exhibitors and distributors, to release this movie.
How is this going to affect Sony's reputation?
Well, I think that Sony has just caved into terrorists, and I don't think that either in the short run or in the long run. In the short run, it's bad for their bottom line. In the long run, it's bad for their reputation as a corporation, as an organization in the entertainment business. If, in fact, you're going to allow intimidation, threats to determine what is and is not released, now you are operating under terrorist and totalitarian rules of expression.
Right, American film director and producer J Neil Schulman, this is how he sees this. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.